Hello and welcome to our webinar on information security and governance. I'm here today with our consultant Andy Larkham, who's going to be talking through a few things around governance for us.
Yeah, great. So thanks for coming along. Today we're going to be looking a little bit about why governance is important in your business, how to do some of that, and also we'll be looking at information security and where that fits into good governance and how the two marry together. We'll also look at some of the practical things that you can be doing right now to improve the information security state in your business.
Great, let's get started.
Hi there, and thanks for joining us for this webinar about IT policy and governance. My name's Andre Vaux, and I'm the Managing Director here at ClearLogic. I'm joined here today by our information security expert, Andy Larkham, to discuss the benefits of improving your IT governance. Andy, do you want to tell us a bit about yourself and why you get to call yourself an information security expert?
Yeah, sure. I love that. Why do I call myself an information security expert? That's fair. I have over 20 years experience in the IT industry. I started out life building all things online, so web and database systems, that kind of stuff. And began to notice that we were building things with security angles kind of covered, but that wasn't actually common at the time. So sort of gravitated into the information security sphere, and that's now where I specialise. I'm a qualified lead auditor for ISO 27001, I spend my life helping people understand the subject and do implementation for 27001 as well.
Well, it sounds like you're a good person to know. Now, as you can see from the image here, we've got a lot to get through today, so we're going to be moving at quite a pace. But the good news is that this is recorded, so you can watch it back over if you need to. Andy, you did recently help us to achieve ISO 27001. Do you want to start off by telling us what ISO is and if it's something our clients should be trying to achieve?
Yeah, absolutely. So 27001 is a security framework, right? It's internationally recognized. It's kind of widely respected as like the gold standard in information security. And what it does, it provides a framework for managing your information security across your business. It's really good. It's not hugely prescriptive. So it gives a lot of room for interpretation. This is what we recommend. Tell me how your business does these things, right?
Yeah.
It's really good. And the key element, and one of the things that sets it apart from a lot of other security standards, is that it's third-party verified. So a third party will come in, independent third party, come in and audit your system or the way you work to make sure that you are meeting the requirements of the standard. And that's really great because it means that other entities can trust that certification to say, yeah, they really do what they say they do. In my opinion, it's a standard that every business should aspire to. I think it's genuinely very, very good. It's all about risk management, all about understanding what you're trying to do as a business and what's going to stop your business from achieving that. And then how do we put protections in place to keep us on track? So it is quite hard. It's quite a lot of work. It's not for the faint-hearted, but it is a really, really good standard to go for.
Good. I guess that there are other standards available too, and one of the things that we'll talk about is Cyber Essentials here. Cyber Essentials is a lot more achievable than ISO 27001, and it's actually from the government, isn't it? They created the Cyber Essentials scheme. Do you want to tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, so this all came about back in 2014. It was the government's answer to how do we make the UK a safe place to do business online. That was a big strapline at the time. And so they came up with this set of technical controls. The clues in the name, Cyber Essentials, right? It's the basics of good security, things that you should do. So technical controls, bit of a geeky term, just mean technical things that we can do that will reduce our risk. Right, so they keyed it off essentially protecting businesses against script kiddies. Right, I consider myself a script kiddie. I can play around with code and make it do stuff. I'm not very good at writing it from scratch, but that's what kids are doing. They're downloading tools off the internet, playing with them, and they can knock your business out and make your business close down if we haven't protected ourselves from it. So Cyber Essentials is a bunch of stuff that you can do. For small businesses, it's actually really quite easily achievable. It's actually harder if you're a big business to do Cyber Essentials because some of the technical controls, you must do this on every device. If you've only got 5 of them, it's quite quick. If you've got 500, it takes a little while. So good for small businesses. The key difference between Cyber Essentials and 27001, apart from the scale of it, is that Cyber Essentials, you are saying that you do these things and you send that away, and someone will look at it and go, all right, and sign it off. They might ask you a few questions just to check that you really have done stuff, but you could lie. I don't recommend that, and it's pretty underhand if you do, but you could lie and say, yeah, we do all this stuff, and you'd still get the badge. Whereas 27001 you wouldn't, because someone would come and check.
Well, I think Cyber Essentials is a great place to start.
Yes.
One of the things that I remember about, as we were sort of winning business, or certainly around GDPR, etc., was that, companies were coming and asking us about, what policies do you have in place or whatever. And I think that's where things like Cyber Essentials and 27001 come into their own, because if you can say, we have Cyber Essentials, or you can say we're 27001 registered, I don't like to use the word box ticking, but that kind of really helps, because if you're already working at a standard, it makes a lot of questions on paperwork irrelevant, doesn't it?
Yeah, it really does. I mean, one of the first times I put 27001 into a business, their main kind of business requirement was they were getting fed up of having to fill out security questionnaires. Here's the box you can tick to say you've got 27001, or here's 14 pages of questions that we're going to ask you about how you do 27001 without having the badge, right? So they just wanted to be able to tick the box, and that actually ended up saving them more than it had cost them to put it in. So great solution for them. But yeah, so 27001, key difference, I say, is this validation piece. But yeah, I think you're also right. Quite often in business, there's the things that we know and the things that we don't. And we can talk about, well, this is the business we're winning, this is the business we're not. But what about the stuff you don't know that you're not winning because nobody's asking you because you haven't got the badges?
Yeah. Right? Well, we often find that, companies have some policies, but they don't have an official ISMS, or they're not using some framework like Cyber Essentials, etc. And I guess good security starts with good governance, and good governance really starts with what the business is trying to achieve, where the threats are, and then that should then be backed up with good policies that support that, right?
Yeah, that's absolutely right, and quite often that's not how companies do it, right? We're driven by demands on the business, and we've all been there. A company, or potential company or client comes to you and says, can you show us your random other policy? And you go, we haven't got a random other policy. Let's go and download random other policy from the internet and rebrand it as ours, and then give them that. Every business does that. And the problem with that is you can end up with 5 or 6 different policies that are all actually the same policy. We just didn't know that because they all had different titles. Sure. And actually none of those policies look like our business, and we don't do any of the things those policies say. But now we've got one, so that's good. And you end up in a mess. And you can, we quite often see companies who are very paper heavy in policies and procedures that they don't actually do. And that's a mess. So we want to start off with, what is it that we business do? What do we care about? What are we trying to achieve? And then who's interested in us? And what do they want? And what do they expect of us? And how do we deliver that? And if you can start from that point of view, you can start writing policies that are good for your business and that help your business and protect your business and help your business grow ultimately. So that's what, when we're talking about governance, that's what we're talking about is let's get this right from the ground up. And that's certainly something that we've seen through some of the IT strategic reviews that we've done, is that we find lots of policies about data in lots of different places, so there may be a bring your own device policy or a computer policy, but then also staff handbook, there's a bit of policy in there about data, etc. And quite often they're not always on the same page in terms of, they're not in agreement with one another, those statements. Yeah. So, having a proper system in place would obviously be much better. Oh yeah, look, duplication is right at the heart of we screwed up. Right? Because we go, well, we've got this one here and that one there, and they say different things. So which one's right? Well, I don't know. And which one did we breach? Yes. It's a terrible mess. So we want to get it right, and we want one thing that does one job, and we want to make sure that that thing is right for us as a business and protects us and protects our employees as well. Yeah. Well, we're talking a lot about governance. For some businesses viewing this or listening to this, I can imagine they're thinking that, this is for the future. Governance is about the future, but they're actually wondering, what practical steps can they be doing right now to improve their security? So what do you think, Andy? What practical steps can our viewers and listeners be taking right now to improve their position in terms of cybersecurity? Yeah, great. So I mean, look, pragmatically, business is busy doing business. Of course, we want to do things right, and we want to do it right from the start, but at the same time, we've got to earn money and keep people employed and that kind of stuff, right? So, that it's right that we are practical. And the big problem with security is that there's no silver bullet.
No.
There's no one thing that we can do and go, not so secure yesterday, and then today we fixed it. We are now secure. It's all good. We need to put some practical stuff in. But the problem with being practical is we tend to just do stuff without explaining why we're doing stuff. So a friend of mine uses
knee-jerk type stuff.
Yeah, and a friend of mine talks about he has this saying, we need to understand the why, so we'll endure the how. We're so busy doing how that we forgot to explain why we were doing it or think about why we were doing it, which means the how is now a real problem. And nobody likes how. It's hard. Change? I don't want to change. I like the way we did things before. Why are you making me do it differently? Well, because these really good reasons. Now I get it. Yeah. But if we don't do the why, we'll end up fighting people over the how.
And you essentially then don't get the buy-in from the wider business, do you? So.
Exactly. So I think, in terms of, therefore, what we do, we want to start with figuring out, well, what have we got? What do we care about? And again, 27,001 is really good for shaping your thinking on this because it's all about risk management. But if you think, what data do we hold?
Yeah.
Where do we hold it? Why have we got it? Who needs to access it? Where are they accessing it from? Once we've understood that, we can start going, well, that data, that stuff, that's really valuable. We better be really careful with that. This data over here, not so much. I mean, we still care, just maybe not so much. Yeah. So now we can prioritize the work we do and we can think about where do we need to pay attention and what controls should we have. Obviously, the high value stuff, strictly controlled. The less valuable stuff, we'll still control it, but maybe not so intently.
Sometimes asking that why question can actually help you simplify it as well, though, right? Because, why have we got this data? Well, we don't really need to keep this data. So actually that makes it much more simple because let's get rid of this data. Companies are very good at hoarding data, aren't they? And actually a lot of the time they have no legitimate business reason to do so.
Absolutely. And, again, in 27,001, we do this whole risk assessment piece. And what's often quite interesting, I used to, when we do business networking stuff, and people say, what do you do for a living? I'd say, well, I help business owners sleep better. Which is a bit more interesting than I do information security. People would fall asleep at that point, which maybe is helping them sleep better. But, and I do that by helping them understand the risk. You go, well, what is it you're scared about? Well, these things. Well, do you need to be that scared about that stuff? And you start unpacking it and they go, actually, I don't. That's better. And often we are overlooking the really valuable, really scary stuff because we're too busy worrying about this actual thing over here that isn't that important or
Sure.
So, focusing on what are the things we need to do and then working from there is a good way to do. Now, I haven't talked about practical things we can actually do yet. I've just talked about figuring it out. So in terms of actual practical stuff, I suppose a great starting point is firewalls, right? Because they're at the boundaries of your networks. They're the things that stop the evil coming in. Yeah. So we should understand what we've got, firewalls, right? So we want to know what rules have we got in place and are we blocking the nasty stuff? I'm getting a little bit gritty here, but firewall rules isn't everyone's bag. So get someone technical to get us to help you. We can help you with that. And have a look at what have you got set up. Are those still correct? Do you still have a web server running in your office? No. Well, then close those rules. That kind of stuff.
Absolutely. And that's again something we find, especially when we onboard new clients, is that when we're performing a strategic review, we look at this technical stuff and we often find that there are ports still open or even old servers still running that are just not doing anything at all now.
Yeah, no, that's good. I suppose next steps. So fix your firewalls. Next thing I'd look at is passwords. Oh man, we're all so bored of hearing about passwords, right? So tedious. And people, we do training for this kind of stuff.
Sure.
You talk about information security training, and you mention passwords and everyone rolls their eyes. Right? Everyone rolls their eyes. Oh, flipping it, and they'll start fidgeting, going bored now. But you start talking about passwords and you realise we need to talk about this stuff because you're not doing it.
Yeah.
But again, we security people, we've done it wrong. We've gone, yes, need nice, strong, complex passwords. They're going to be really hard and really complicated and really difficult for you to work with. So we're going to change them every 60 seconds as well. Good luck with that.
Very secure.
Yeah, and people get really disillusioned with it and find it frustrating because we didn't explain why. So I'm just going to do a little bit of why with you, right? So let's imagine you've got a 6-character password, right? And we're going to do all lowercase letters and numbers in that password. Okay, so 6 characters, lowercase letters and numbers. The maths looks like this. Here we go. 26 characters in the alphabet, 10 numbers, 6 possible locations, power 6, so with 2.2 billion possible combinations.
Wow.
Now, I won't put you on the spot. I'll tell you that when we do this in training, we say to people, who'd like to guess how long, room full of people, how long is it going to take me to hack your password? I'm going to do a brute force hack, right? I'm going to use some software called, or system called Kali Linux operating system. You can download it off the internet. It comes pre-baked with hundreds of hacking tools. I'm going to use one called Medusa. It's multi-threaded, so I can smash away really fast off my laptop. I'm going to try and hack your password. How long is it going to take me? And you can people start guessing, start at 3-4 hours, 8 hours, a week, a couple of weeks, maybe a year. And then you have to explain to people, no, I'm going to hack that in a blink of an eye.
Yeah, just a second or two.
It's going to be quicker for me to hack your password than it's going to be for you to type it in. That's just stupid. I mean, that's not security. It's, well, the opposite. I don't know what the opposite is. It's not security. It's like one of those little piddly bike chains. You go, well, it's going to take you like 30 seconds to put your bike chain on and a fraction of a second for me to chop through it with bolt cutters.
Sure.
Yeah, that's not security. So then we go, right, take the same rules, lowercase letters and numbers. We're going to add 4 characters to your 6-character password. 10 characters. That's probably achievable for most people.
Okay.
How long is it going to take me to hack that? And people go, wow, it was a blink of an eye last time. So what, 3-4 seconds, maybe a minute, maybe a couple of hours. And you go, no, actually, it's going to take a while. So we've gone from 2.2 billion possible combinations to 3.65 quadrillion. That's a big number. Right? I didn't know what that number is, so I actually looked it up. Here you go. It looks like this. 2.2 billion is the top number. 3.65 quadrillion. It's got a few more zeros. It's going to take ages, right? Yeah, It is. We've gone from blink of an eye at 6 characters to about 4 weeks at 10 characters.
Such a difference for a few extra characters. Isn't
Exactly. A massive step up. So it turns out length is important, right? So we really want to get long, strong passwords. And again, once people have seen that and understand it, they all start squirming on their chairs thinking, Bennett, I probably ought to go and fix my passwords. In fact, this next slide, there you go, this table here is really helpful for understanding it. And you start, look, huge step up in security, especially if we can bring in upper and lowercase letters, numbers and special characters. We start getting into ridiculous numbers for hacking passwords. So a 10-character password with lowercase letters and numbers and special characters, we're looking at months to hack it. You just stick a couple more characters, we're into lots and lots of years, right? So the small increments make huge difference to our security.
Yes,
that's why we still need to talk about passwords. And then we get to, oh, for goodness sake, of course you wouldn't have one key that does everything. I left the house, I locked my door. I got in the car with the same key and then went to the office with the same key and went shopping, same key, and then visited parents with the same key. Because that would be dumb, because if you lose your key or someone steals your key, everything's now at risk, right? So we don't do that with keys. Passwords are keys. And when people understand that passwords are keys, of course you don't use the same password for more than one thing, right?
Yes.
And again, everyone starts wriggling because it turns out we all do. So we need to fix that and help people to understand why. So we do the how.
That's a great analogy as well. Using the same key for your car, for your house, for your boats, whatever it is you've got that needs a key.
Yeah. One day I'll have a boat.
Okay, so firewalls, passwords, what else should we be considering?
Okay, so patching, I think, is probably the next place to talk about. All software ages, right? So new vulnerabilities being discovered in software all the time. These are often reported to the guys who develop the software or the operating systems or whatever, and they'll then write patches to release code that fixes those vulnerabilities, and that only works if you apply the patches, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if you've got an old operating system that you don't do updates on, they might have released a whole bunch of updates to secure you, and you didn't take them.
Yes.
And that would be bad. So we want to make sure that patching is actually happening. For some big companies, they've got nice systems in place to do that. For smaller companies, that can be quite hard. It's where we can come in and do an amazing job of making sure that all of your software and all of your operating systems are patched and up to date, keeping you safe and secure. Don't turn Windows updates off, kind of thing. And again, if you're a small business and you haven't or you need help with that kind of stuff, talk to us, or just make sure you've got automatic updates enabled. For goodness sake, don't mess with that stuff. It's there for a reason. It's there to protect you.
Sure. And taking that further, one of the things we do for our managed IT service clients is that we actually provide monthly reporting as well. And obviously monthly reporting that tells you how up to date your systems are is vital when you're being audited or whatever. You now have the proof to be able to say, yes, our systems are up to date. Here's March's report or April's report.
Yeah, really good.
Okay, so I think that probably nicely takes us into malware protection, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, if you think, we've got to patch against these security vulnerabilities. Why? Well, because malware, for example. When we talk about malware, I should apologise on behalf of the information security industry. We make up words. I think we do that mostly to make ourselves look clever and everyone else feel stupid or something. It's like phishing with a PH, which of course is, I'm going to send you emails. What?
Of course.
Why phishing?
Not.
It doesn't make any sense. But malware, it's the same thing. Malicious software. Let's take the mal from malicious and ware from software, blend it together. There you go, malware. And we're all familiar with antivirus, right? So we talk about, I've got antivirus software. Well, all viruses are malware. Not all malware are viruses. So when we talk about malware, what we're talking about is things like keyloggers. So that's where basically I've managed to install my malware, my keylogger on your computer. So everything that you type is being logged to a file, and then periodically that file's going to come back to me and I'll go digging through it to see what you've been typing in where.
Yeah.
Right. Worms, the things that spread themselves, rootkits. You get one of those, you're stuffed because I own your device, but you'll never find me, that kind of thing. And then ransomware. Ransomware is currently the biggest threat to UK businesses. So, you want to go on the NCSC website and check it out. They'll tell you, ransomware is a big deal. And basically what ransomware does is if you get a ransomware infection, it will encrypt. So that's where I'm going to take your file, I'm going to jumble up the contents of that file in such a way that you can't read it. And the only way you're going to be able to read it is by getting the decryption key. And for that, you're going to pay me a ransom. Now, the more files I manage to encrypt, the bigger that fee is going to get. So you're in a bit of a mess, right? Ransomware is properly nasty. And remember, anything that you can touch, any files that you can affect or write to or read, they're the ones that are going to get encrypted, right? Yeah. So it's really sinister stuff. We've got to take it really seriously and protect ourselves from it. I mean, things we can do, really good malware protection software. And again, if you want to talk to us about that, we can help you with that. But you need really good malware protection. And then on top of that, you must have really good backups.
Yeah. Well, obviously good backups are important, and we're taking essentially a multi-layered approach here in terms of security, because we obviously want to be protecting through malware protection, but we also want to be protecting through backups too. So if you get failure through one, you've still got another option to be able to restore from. Mm-hmm. Now, backups are very interesting because backups are a very wide subject, and not all backups protect you from downtime, right?
No, right.
So, you can have all your data printed out on paper and pop that in a wheelie bin. That's a backup. But how useful is that backup when, you actually need to use it?
Yeah.
So, we say backup does not protect you from downtime. A good backup will also have business continuity built in.
Yes.
You need to be looking at your recovery time objective. How quickly can you restore if you do have a ransomware attack? And that's probably the most key thing when you're looking at backup and recovery systems, because it's great to have a backup, but if it takes you 2 weeks to recover, how materially is that going to affect the business through downtime, through poor PR, etc., etc., etc. So yes, backup is really important, and that's one of the things that we actually cover off in our IT strategic review service.
Yeah, very good.
Well, look, Andy, it's been really nice talking to you today, and I think we're out of time now.
If you've got any questions coming out of any of the stuff we've talked about today, please feel free to get in touch. You can talk to me directly by emailing me at andy@adlconsulting.co.uk, or feel free to contact us at questions@clarelogic.net. Or do have a look at your screen now, because all of our contact details will be on there for you. Have a great day. Thanks a lot.